My name is Amanda. I'm 28 years old and I work as a doctor at a local hospital in Phoenix, Arizona. I've always believed in helping people, staying quiet, and doing the right thing until one day, everything changed. I come from a family that looks perfect on the outside. My parents, Olivia and Charles, are church-going folks, always smiling and well-dressed. My elder sister, Kimberly, has always been the star of the family. She's older than me by 7 years, and growing up, she got everything she asked for: new toys, piano lessons, even her own car at 16. Me? I got hand-me-downs and just be patient. Kimberly worked in real estate, bouncing between jobs and boyfriends like it was her full-time hobby. Despite that, my parents still treated her like royalty. Maybe it was because she had some health problems as a kid. Or maybe it was because she knew how to make people feel guilty when she didn't get what she wanted. I never held it against her. I had my goals, and I worked hard. Medical school wasn't easy, especially since I took out student loans and held 2 part-time jobs. But I made it through. I was proud of myself for becoming a doctor, and I didn't expect much from anyone. That was until my life savings vanished. It started when I got a weird letter in the mail. It came in one of those thick envelopes that usually scream, "You've messed up." I sat on the edge of my kitchen counter, still in my scrubs, and opened it. Inside was a letter from a mortgage lender thanking me for purchasing a new house in Las Vegas. Las Vegas? I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment near the hospital and had no plans to move. I flipped through the pages and found loan documents with my name on them. There it was, a loan of $721,000. My name. My social security number. My signature, or at least a signature that looked a whole lot like mine. I nearly dropped the papers. My chest got tight, and I couldn't breathe. Was it a scam? Identity theft? I called the lender immediately. The man on the phone spoke like I was an idiot. "Miss Jones, your loan has already been approved. The keys were handed over 2 weeks ago. The property is listed under your name." My voice cracked. "I didn't buy a house." He paused. "Then someone did it in your name. I suggest you file a police report." I didn't sleep that night. I just sat on the floor, surrounded by papers, shaking. My credit was destroyed, and I was now responsible for a $721,000 loan for a house I didn't even know existed. I didn't want to believe anyone in my family could do this. But deep down, I knew. I drove to my parents' house early the next morning. It wasn't a long drive, but it felt endless. My hands gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. I didn't call ahead. I couldn't. I had to see their faces. My dad opened the door in his robe, sipping coffee. "Mandy, what are you doing here so early?" I walked in without saying a word and threw the documents on the dining table. My mom rushed in, still tying her bathrobe, and Kimberly came down the stairs like a princess returning from a royal nap. "What's this?" Dad asked, looking at the papers. "You tell me," I snapped. My voice was cold, shaking. "Who used my name to buy a house in Las Vegas?" Mom paled. Kimberly just blinked. Then she shrugged. "I thought you wouldn't mind," she said, like she had borrowed my sweater or something. "You're a doctor. You can afford it." My jaw dropped. "What?" "It's just temporary," Kimberly continued. "I'll pay it off eventually. I just needed help with the down payment. The housing market is insane right now." "You didn't ask me," I screamed. "You stole from me. You committed fraud." That's when my mom stepped in, trying to calm things down. "Sweetheart," she said, reaching for my arm, "we were going to tell you," but Kimberly was desperate. She was about to lose her apartment, and you're doing so well. "Doing well? You ruined my credit. You stole my future." My dad mumbled something about keeping the family together and how the neighbors might hear us. I stormed out. I couldn't breathe. My own sister had done this. And my parents had helped her cover it up. I reported the fraud, of course. I filed a police report, contacted a lawyer, and tried to get the loan reversed. But the bank was already locked in. My name was on everything. It would take months, maybe years, to get out of it. And while I waited, My credit score dropped faster than I could blink. I couldn't get a car loan. I couldn't even renew the lease on my apartment. I had to move in with a coworker just to keep my head above water. But what hurt the most wasn't the money. It wasn't even the betrayal. It was the fact that my parents didn't say sorry. Not once. Instead, they begged me to stay quiet. "Kimberly's already going through so much," my mom whispered in one of her messages. "If you go to court, she might lose her job. Her boyfriend might leave her." Good. I ignored every message they sent after that. I blocked Kimberly. I blocked my parents. And I started working double shifts at the hospital, not just for the money, but for the distraction. I needed to do something. I needed to feel in control of my life again. Then one day, something unexpected happened. I got a call from someone I didn't know. A woman named Tessa. She spoke fast, her words tumbling over each other like she couldn't believe what she was saying. "I know what your sister did," she said. "And I have proof." I paused. "Who are you?" "I'm her coworker." "Well, ex-coworker now. We worked together at Silver Horizon Realty. She bragged about what she did to you. Said you were too soft to fight back." My hands clenched into fists. "What kind of proof do you have?" "I have emails. Texts. Even an audio recording." "Want me to send them to you?" I sat in silence for a second, then whispered, "Yes." And just like that, I had my first weapon. Tessa sent everything to my private email. And when I listened to the recording, hearing Kimberly laughing, calling me her walking ATM, I felt something rise inside me. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't disappointment. It was revenge. I wasn't going to just fix what Kimberly did. I was going to make her regret it. Permanently. And the first step. Showing up at her new house in Las Vegas. Unannounced. With someone she didn't expect at all. Someone who had everything to lose if the truth came out. Her boyfriend. The one she had lied to just as badly. Because secrets don't stay buried forever. They come knocking. Loudly. The drive from Phoenix to Las Vegas was long, dry, and silent except for the constant pounding in my chest. I stared straight ahead, gripping the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping me from falling apart. My phone buzzed a few times in the cup holder, but I didn't check it. I didn't need more messages from my mother telling me to let it go or my father suggesting it's not that deep. It was deep. And I wasn't letting anything go. I stopped just outside the gated entrance of Desert Mirage Estates. The name sounded fancy, but the place looked like it was trying too hard. Rows of almost identical beige houses stretched out in a neat grid, like someone had copy-pasted a neighborhood from a computer screen. I buzzed the gate and watched the security camera blink at me. "Yes," a voice crackled through the speaker. "This is Amanda Jones," I said calmly. "I'm here to see Kimberly. I'm her sister." A pause. Then the gate slid open with a slow groan. I didn't know what I expected, but it wasn't the sleek, two-story cream-colored house with a freshly mowed lawn and a blue SUV parked outside. This wasn't just survival, Kimberly had leveled up. Big. I knocked twice. When the door swung open, Kimberly's boyfriend stood there. He was tall, clean-cut, and wore a watch that probably cost more than my rent. His name was Brian. "Hey," he said, blinking. "Can I help you?" I held out my hand. "Amanda. Kimberly's sister." He looked surprised, but he smiled. "Oh. She never mentioned you were visiting. Come in." Inside, everything smelled like lavender and new money. The place looked like it was pulled straight from a real estate ad. Plush rugs. A kitchen with spotless granite counters. A staircase with those little LED lights built into the steps. Kimberly came downstairs in leggings and a hoodie, her hair wrapped in a towel. She froze when she saw me. "What are you doing here?" she asked. I smiled tightly. Just thought I'd see the house I apparently bought. Brian's face scrunched in confusion. "Wait, what?" Kimberly walked over, her tone fake sweet. "Amanda, can we talk privately?" "No," I said. "We're doing this now." I pulled my phone out of my purse and played the recording Tessa had sent me. Kimberly's voice filled the room. "She'll never do anything. She's too soft." She thinks being a doctor makes her special, but she's always been a doormat. Brian's eyes widened. What is that? A recording, I said, staring straight at Kimberly. Of your girlfriend bragging about stealing $721,000 from me. Using my name. My credit. The silence in the room was louder than the recording had been. Kimberly's face turned red. That was taken out of context. Brian took a step back. You told me your sister co-signed. You said she helped you. I needed the loan. I couldn't qualify a loan, she snapped. You lied to me, he said slowly, as if he was trying to swallow glass. She turned to me, face crumbling. Amanda, I'm sorry. No, I interrupted. Don't. You weren't sorry when you did it. You weren't sorry when Mom and Dad helped you lie. You're only sorry you got caught. Brian stepped away from her and looked at me. Do you need help pressing charges? I nodded. I already filed a report. But yes. I'd love a statement. And any documents you have tying her to this. Kimberly gasped. You're turning him against me? I stared at her. You turned everyone against me the second you signed my name. Brian didn't say anything. He just went upstairs, shaking his head. I left shortly after, but not before snapping a few pictures of the house, the car, the fake little home sweet home sign by the door. I wanted proof. For the police. For myself. By the time I got back to Phoenix, the story had already started to spread. Word travels fast when shame is involved. And that's when the calls started. This time, not from my parents. From Kimberly. Begging. First, it was a voicemail. Then a text. Then another. She was afraid of being arrested. Afraid of losing her job. Afraid of losing Brian. I ignored them all. That was the low. But then something else happened, something that flipped everything upside down. A week later, I got a thick envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside were printed screenshots of a bank account. Kimberly's name was on them. But the deposits? They weren't just from her job. They were from a shell company registered under my mother's maiden name. Tens of thousands of dollars. Month after month. I stared at the papers in disbelief. This wasn't just Kimberly's crime. My parents were in on it. Actively. This wasn't about helping their daughter. This was a full-blown operation. My own family had been funneling money through my name for months. And I had just scratched the surface. That night, I sat on my bed, surrounded by papers, rage, and heartbreak. I wasn't just fighting for justice anymore. I was fighting to burn down everything they built on my back. And I knew exactly where to start. With the IRS. The Internal Revenue Service doesn't knock with flowers, they knock with fines and questions. I sat at my kitchen table, flipping through the documents over and over. The screenshots. The deposits. The tiny breadcrumbs of deceit that pointed to something much bigger than I could have imagined. It wasn't just identity theft. It was wire fraud. Tax fraud. Maybe even money laundering. And my name was tied to all of it. I called a financial crimes attorney first thing Monday morning. His name was David Lang. He spoke in measured sentences, like someone who spent most of his life delivering bad news. This isn't just about a home loan, he said after looking through what I sent him. Your parents could be liable for felony charges if these documents are verified. I swallowed hard. And me. You're a victim, he said. As long as we act fast. We'll need to protect you legally. Freeze certain accounts. Notify the IRS. And file a fraud affidavit immediately. Even if it's my own family. Especially because it's your own family. And just like that, I signed over power of attorney to David. He filed the paperwork, and within 48 hours, letters were sent to the IRS, the mortgage company, and every financial institution linked to my social security number. My credit was in ruins, but at least now someone was fighting beside me. Meanwhile, Kimberly's life was crumbling fast. Brian had moved out. Her boss at Silver Horizon Realty had been contacted by the state's Department of Real Estate. Her accounts were under review. And the house she so proudly flaunted. It was about to be seized under fraud investigation. And still, my parents didn't call. Not to apologize. Not to explain. Not even to say goodbye. Until the night my father showed up at my apartment. He stood at the door like a stranger. Pale. Shaking. Holding a plastic bag with homemade chicken stew, my favorite. "Can I come in?" he asked quietly. I said nothing, but stepped aside. He sat at the edge of the couch like someone waiting for a verdict. "I didn't know it would go this far," he said after a while. "Your mother, she just wanted to help Kimberly. She thought it'd be temporary." "I was homeless for 2 weeks," I said flatly. "I had to borrow a mattress from a coworker. You all knew what was happening, and no one said a word." He closed his eyes. "We thought you'd bounce back." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd. "You stole $721,000 from me and expected me to bounce back?" "We were afraid," he whispered. "Afraid that Kimberly would spiral. Afraid she'd hurt herself. Afraid of what people would think." "You were afraid of embarrassment," I snapped. "Not accountability." He stood up slowly, tears in his eyes. "I'm sorry. I really am. If I could go back." "But you can't," I interrupted. "And I'm not the same girl who kept quiet just to keep peace. I'm done protecting people who wouldn't protect me." He nodded, eyes on the floor. Then he handed me the bag of stew and walked out without another word. That was the low. But a few days later, things got even worse. I got a call from David. "You need to see this," he said grimly. "Check your email." I opened it on my laptop. It was a scanned letter from an attorney in Las Vegas, Kimberly's attorney. And the contents. She was suing me. Claiming emotional distress. Claiming that my vindictive actions had cost her her career, her relationship, and her home. The woman who stole my name, my future, and half my soul was now trying to drag me to court for breaking her heart. I sat frozen, staring at the screen. Then, I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I smiled. Because this was the dumbest move she could have made. In suing me, Kimberly opened every locked door. Every private record. Every lie she thought she'd buried. And I was going to use every single one of them. She wanted a war. She just handed me the map, the weapons, and the match. And I was done playing nice. The courthouse in downtown Las Vegas smelled faintly of furniture polish and nerves. I sat at the plaintiff's table, but not because I was being sued. David had quickly filed a countersuit. Fraud. Emotional and financial damages. Identity theft. Kimberly had no idea that by taking me to court, she had yanked open a steel door she couldn't close again. She sat across the room, looking like a watered-down version of herself. Gone was the perfectly done hair and smug grin. She wore a wrinkled blazer and clutched her phone like a lifeline. Her lawyer, some overconfident guy named Spencer, kept whispering in her ear like he could still spin this into something noble. David leaned over to me. "We're going to start with the wire transfers. Then the recording. Then we call Tessa." It was a carefully set trap and Kimberly walked right into it. The judge, an older woman with gray braids and piercing eyes, called the courtroom to order. Spencer launched into a tearful monologue about family betrayal and misunderstood intentions. David responded by dropping a thick folder onto the table with a satisfying thud. We had bank records. We had emails. We had the audio recording admitted into evidence by the judge. But the real moment. When Tessa took the stand. She was calm, measured, and devastating. She bragged about it, Tessa said under oath. Said her sister wouldn't notice, that she was too busy being a hero in scrubs to bother with paperwork. Kimberly sunk in her chair. Then came Brian. He looked straight ahead and said with complete clarity, "She lied to everyone." Amanda didn't co-sign anything. The only thing Kimberly wanted was a shortcut. By the time court recessed for the day, the tide had turned. Kimberly's emotional distress lawsuit was dismissed immediately. The countersuit remained. Outside the courthouse, as the reporters lingered and cameras blinked, Kimberly caught up with me in the parking lot. "You humiliated me," she hissed. I turned to her. "No. You did that all by yourself. This isn't over." "You're right," I said. "Because the IRS just started looking into the deposits." She froze. What? You thought I wouldn't notice the shell company under Mom's maiden name? The wire transfers. You should have left me alone, Kimberly. She stumbled back like I'd slapped her. That was the high. But that night, another blow came swinging. I got a call from my lawyer. Not about Kimberly. About my job. The hospital's HR department had received an anonymous tip, a claim that I'd violated patient confidentiality during a recent shift. It was complete nonsense. But in the healthcare world, even an accusation like that could trigger an internal investigation. I felt the floor vanish beneath me. After everything I'd done to claw back my life, someone was still playing dirty. Someone willing to wreck my entire career. I paced my apartment until the sun came up, trying to breathe through the panic. Then, my phone buzzed. A blocked number. I answered. You think you're the only one who knows how to play this game, the voice whispered. And then it hung up. The battle wasn't over. It had just changed shape. And the next war was going to be darker. Dirtier. Unforgiving. Because someone out there wasn't just trying to silence me. They were trying to erase me. The hospital's internal investigation started with a polite email. Then came the interviews. The HR manager, a short woman named Rebecca with kind eyes and a clipboard that seemed glued to her hand, asked if I'd ever shared patient information outside the facility. No, I said without hesitation. Never. I know the rules. She nodded. We're just following protocol. An anonymous report came in with dates and patient initials. We'll be speaking to others as well. That afternoon, I sat through 3 more meetings. Doctors I'd worked alongside for years suddenly looked at me like a liability. My shift hours were cut temporarily, pending review, they said, though I knew what that meant. People were afraid. One whiff of scandal in a hospital and trust evaporates like steam off hot asphalt. That night, I went home and cried for the first time in months. The kind of crying that empties you out and leaves you hollow. This wasn't just revenge anymore. This was extermination. Someone wanted to scrub me out of existence, reputation, career, sanity. I called David. They're trying to break me. I know, he said. But they're overplaying their hand. Filing a fake report with the hospital is a serious offense. We'll subpoena the IP address behind that tip. What if they used a VPN? They're not that smart. And he was right. 1 week later, we received the trace logs from the hospital's IT department. The report had been submitted through a personal email tied to my mother's name. The IP address led to their home in Tucson. It wasn't just Kimberly anymore. My parents were actively trying to destroy me. The irony. They used the same Wi-Fi they streamed sermons on every Sunday morning. David's face was tight when he called with the news. You still want to do this the legal way? No, I said quietly. I want to do it the smart way. I didn't press charges. Not yet. I wanted them to feel safe again. Relaxed. So I waited. While I rebuilt my hours at the hospital, I worked on something else, something bigger than lawsuits or police reports. A story. I wrote it all down. Every betrayal. Every bank slip. Every passive-aggressive voicemail. Every moment I walked into a courtroom feeling like a ghost in my own life. I changed names. Locations. Slight details. Enough to protect myself legally. Then I uploaded it on a Sunday morning, of course, to a popular online true crime blog under a pseudonym. Within a week, it went viral. People were shocked. Outraged. Riveted. Comments poured in. How could anyone do this to their own daughter? This is why I don't trust family. I hope she drags them through every court in the country. One reader offered free investigative services. Another, an accountant, volunteered to analyze any financial data I had. Then came the email that changed everything. It was from a woman named Clarice. She worked in compliance for a private lending firm. Kimberly had applied for a new loan, using a slightly altered version of my social security number. She had tried again. Without skipping a beat, Clarice provided the application, the credit pull request, and audio from a phone call where Kimberly claimed she had power of attorney for her younger sister. She was relentless. But so was I. David filed a motion with the courts. Kimberly was arrested the following week for attempted identity fraud. Her bail was denied because she violated her previous agreement to cease all financial activity related to my identity. When the news hit the media, yes, the same blog picked it up, my parents tried calling again. I didn't answer. The voicemail my mother left was short. "You should be ashamed. You're tearing this family apart." I played it once. Then deleted it. Because the truth is, I didn't tear my family apart. They did. I just refused to pretend everything was fine. The IRS confirmed a full audit would be launched into both my parents' joint accounts and the shell company. The house in Desert Mirage Estates was auctioned. Kimberly's name was blacklisted in 5 financial institutions. She was barred from working in real estate for 10 years. And me. I got a promotion. The hospital cleared my name. HR issued a quiet apology. Rebecca even left a handwritten note on my locker. "You didn't just survive. You endured." I framed it. I moved to a new apartment. A sunny 2-bedroom that I paid for in full. No loans. No cosigners. No shared Wi-Fi. I still wear a small scar from this war, but it reminds me of everything I overcame. So if you're listening, yes, you, the one who stayed quiet while people walked over you. Speak. Even if your voice shakes. Even if it costs you comfort. Because truth is loud. And revenge. Revenge can wear lipstick and a lab coat and still walk out smiling.